Material Requirements Planning. Material Requirements Planning, MRP, is a production planning, scheduling, and inventory control system used to manage manufacturing processes. Most MRP systems are software-based, but it is possible to conduct MRP by hand as well. An MRP system is intended to simultaneously meet three objectives. History. Prior to MRP, and before computers dominated industry, reorder point, ROP/reorder quantity, ROQ, type methods like OQ, economic order quantity, had been used in manufacturing and inventory management. MRP was created initially to supply the Polaris program then, in 1964, as a response to the Toyota manufacturing program. Joseph Orlicki developed Material Requirements Planning, MRP. The first company to use MRP was Black & Decker in 1964, with Dick Alban as project leader. Orlicki's 1975 book Material Requirements Planning has the subtitle The New Way of Life in Production and Inventory Management. By 1975, MRP was implemented in 700 companies. This number had grown to about 8,000 by 1981. In 1983, Oliver White developed MRP into Manufacturing Resource Planning, MRP2. In the 1980s, Joe Orlicki's MRP evolved into Oliver White's Manufacturing Resource Planning, MRP2, which brings master scheduling, rough cut capacity planning, capacity requirements planning, S&OP in 1983 and other concepts to classical MRP. By 1989, about one-third of the software industry was MRP2 software sold to American industry, $1.2 billion worth of software. The scope of MRP in manufacturing. Dependent demand versus independent demand. Independent demand is demand originating outside the plant or production system, while dependent demand is demand for components. The Bill of Materials, BOM, specifies the relationship between the end product, independent demand, and the components, dependent demand. MRP takes as input the information contained in the BOM. The basic functions of an MRP system include inventory control, bill of material processing, and elementary scheduling. MRP helps organizations to maintain low inventory levels. It is used to plan manufacturing, purchasing and delivering activities. Manufacturing organizations, whatever their products, face the same daily practical problem, that customers want products to be available in a shorter time than it takes to make them. This means that some level of planning is required. Companies need to control the types and quantities of materials they purchase, plan which products are to be produced and in what quantities, and ensure that they are able to meet current and future customer demand, all at the lowest possible cost. Making a bad decision in any of these areas will make the company lose money. A few examples are given below. MRP is a tool to deal with these problems. It provides answers for several questions. MRP can be applied both to items that are purchased from outside suppliers and to sub-assemblies, produced internally, that are components of more complex items. Data. The data that must be considered include outputs. There are two outputs and a variety of messages/reports. Messages and reports. Methods to find order quantities. Well-known methods to find order quantities are mathematical formulation. MRP can be expressed as an optimal control problem, where X is local inventory, the state, Z the order size, the control, D is local demand, K represents fixed order costs, C variable order costs, H local inventory holding costs. Delta is the heaviside function. Changing the dynamics of the problem leads to a multi-item analog of the dynamic lot size model. Problems with MRP systems. Solutions to data integrity issues. Source: Demand-Driven Mrp. In 2011, the third edition of Orlicki's Materials Requirements Planning introduced a new type of MRP called Demand-Driven Mrp, DDMRP. The new edition of the book was written, not by Orlicki himself, he died in 1986, but by Carol Patak and Chad Smith at the invitation of McGraw-Hill to update Olecki's work. Demand-Driven Mrp is a multi-echelon formal planning and execution technique with 5 distinct components. These 5 components work together to greatly dampen, if not eliminate, the nervousness of traditional MRP systems and the bullwhip effect in complex and challenging environments. The Demand-Driven Institute claims the following: in utilizing these approaches, planners will no longer have to try to respond to every single message for every single part that is off by even one day. This approach provides real information about those parts that are truly at risk of negatively impacting the planned availability of inventory. DDMRP sorts the significant few items that require attention from the many parts that are being managed. Under the DDMRP approach, fewer planners can make better decisions more quickly. That means companies will be better able to leverage their working and human capital as well as the huge investments they have made in information technology. One downside, however, is that DDMRP cannot run on the majority of MPI/ERP systems in use today without use of an additional application. DDMRP has been successfully applied to a variety of environments including CTO, Configure to Order, MTS, Make to Stock, MTO, Make to Order, and ETO, Engineer to Order. The methodology is applied differently in each environment, but the 5-step process remains the same. DDMRP leverages knowledge from theory of constraints, TOC, traditional MRP and DRP, Six Sigma and Lean. It is effectively an amalgam of MRP for planning, and Kanban techniques for execution, across multi-echelon supply chains, which, it is claimed, allows the one to complement the weaknesses of the other. It is still a niche solution. Implementations of demand-driven MRP began in 2002 and there are now multiple case studies and published peer-reviewed journal articles. Additional references are included below.